The story begins deep in the frozen mountains of Norway, where the silence of the snow hides something ancient and horrifying. A young woman is running for her life through the dark woods, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with fear. She glances behind her, but whatever's chasing her is too fast. She stumbles, falls, and before she can even scream again, dark figures emerge from the trees. They surround her and attack brutally. Her blood stains the white snow as her screams echo into the night. For a brief, horrifying moment, we see what killed her. They're not human. They're soldiers, undead soldiers wearing tattered Nazi uniforms from World War II. The scene shifts, and a group of 7 medical students arrive in the same area, ready for a fun Easter vacation. They're young, carefree, and completely unaware of the nightmare waiting for them. Their cars can't make it through the thick snow, so they unload their bags and begin the long hike through the icy terrain toward a remote cabin in the mountains. The group laughs and jokes along the way, not realizing that someone, or something, is already watching them from the woods. By the time they reach the cabin, it's nearly dark. They light a fire, settle in, and the atmosphere quickly turns warm and cozy. They eat, drink, and enjoy each other's company. But their peace doesn't last long. Later that night, one of the girls, Hannah, steps outside to get some air. The cold wind howls around her as she stares into the dark forest. Suddenly, she freezes. There's something out there, a figure, standing still among the trees, watching her. Terrified, Hannah runs back inside and tells the others what she saw. The group, half drunk and skeptical, decides to check it out. They step out into the snow with flashlights, but find nothing. The forest is silent again. Then, out of nowhere, a lone man appears at the edge of the woods. His face is weathered, his eyes cold. He says he's a traveler, a hiker passing through, and asks to come inside to warm up. The friends hesitantly agree, offering him coffee and beer, but his presence quickly turns unsettling. He seems oddly familiar with the cabin, as if he's been there before. His behavior shifts from friendly to grim, and soon he begins to tell them a story, one that chills the room to silence. During World War II, this area was occupied by Nazi soldiers, led by a ruthless commander named Colonel Herzog. Herzog and his men tortured the locals, stole their belongings, and ruled with cruelty. When Germany began to lose the war, Herzog and his soldiers decided to flee, but not before taking everything valuable from the people. They filled a chest with gold, silver, and stolen treasures, planning to escape through the mountains. But the people had suffered enough. Fueled by rage, they rose up and fought back, killing many of the soldiers in a brutal uprising. The surviving Nazis, including Herzog himself, fled into the frozen wilderness, taking the treasure with them. None of them were ever seen again. But the locals say their spirits never left. They still guard what they stole, and if anyone dares to disturb it, death will follow. The students exchange uneasy glances, unsure if he's serious. Roy, the loudest of the group, starts making fun of him, calling it a silly ghost story meant to scare tourists. The stranger's expression turns ice cold. In a flash, he grabs Roy by the throat and glares into his eyes. His voice trembles with rage as he hisses, "When you die screaming in this snow, you'll remember this warning." Everyone freezes. The tension is suffocating. Then, just as suddenly, the man lets go, snatches his coat, and storms out of the cabin into the night, leaving behind only the sound of the wind and the crackle of the fire. The group sits in stunned silence, pretending to laugh it off. But deep down, they all feel it. Out in the freezing night, the strange man makes his way through the snow, heading back toward his camp. But then, something shifts in the darkness. There's a sound, faint, unnatural, coming from near his tent. He grips his flashlight and slowly steps forward. The light flickers over the white snow, and then he sees it. A figure in a decayed German uniform standing perfectly still. Before he can even move, the figure lunges. The man screams, but it's too late. The Nazi zombie tackles him to the ground, and the attack is brutal, quick, and merciless. The forest goes quiet once again, the first victim claimed. Morning comes, and inside the cabin, the friends are slowly waking up, unaware of the horror that just happened nearby. But something's wrong. Their friend Sarah, the owner of the cabin, still hasn't arrived. Concern turns to worry, and one of the guys, Vaggard, decides he can't just sit around waiting. He gears up, takes the snowmobile, and prepares to search for her. Before leaving, he jokes with the others, "If I'm not back by evening, don't wait for me. Just pack your things and get out of here." The group laughs nervously, unsure if he's actually joking. Vaggard speeds across the snow-covered landscape. After some time, he spots a tent in the distance. The same tent the strange man had used the night before. He slows down and steps closer. Inside, he finds the man's lifeless body, eyes frozen open in horror. The sight makes Vaggard's stomach turn. Something terrible happened here. Then, just outside the tent, he spots footprints. Deep, heavy, and leading away toward the forest. Vaggard decides to follow them, but suddenly the ground beneath him collapses. Vaggard crashes down into a deep pit. He looks around and realizes he's fallen into an underground tunnel system, carved out beneath the snow and ice. As he moves through the narrow passage, his flashlight beam catches glimpses of old helmets, rusted weapons, and scraps of Nazi uniforms. It's like a graveyard from the war. Then he freezes. In front of him lies the frozen body of his missing friend, Sarah. Her face is pale, her body lifeless. Vaggard's breath catches in his throat. He's trapped in a frozen tomb, and now he knows the evil here is real. Back at the cabin, the group has no idea what's happening outside. While cleaning up, one of them finds a loose floorboard. Curious, he opens it. And inside, he discovers an old wooden chest filled with gold coins, silver, and antique jewelry. The same treasure the Nazi soldiers once stole. Excitement floods the room. They laugh, cheer, and hold up the gold like they've just won the lottery. Nobody stops to think about where it came from, or what it might awaken. As the night goes on, the mood becomes loud and wild. Music blasts, drinks flow, and the group starts celebrating their lucky find. At one point, Erland steps outside to use the outhouse. His girlfriend Chris follows a few minutes later, giggling. They sneak into the small wooden shack, sharing an intimate moment, laughing and kissing, completely lost in their own world. When Erland goes back inside, Chris feels it, that heavy, suffocating feeling of being watched. Slowly, she turns her head and sees a figure standing in the dark, a Nazi soldier, but its skin is gray and its face rotting. She screams. The zombie lunges. It grabs her, dragging her into the snow, tearing into her with inhuman strength. Chris's scream echoes into the night, but inside the cabin, the music drowns it out completely. A few minutes later, Hannah thinks she hears something. She turns down the volume and listens carefully. Then she steps outside, calling out Chris's name, but the forest gives no answer. Her flashlight beam scans across the snow, and then she sees it. Blood. A dark red trail leading away into the woods. Nearby, a torn piece of denim, Chris's jeans, lies in the snow. Hannah's voice trembles as she calls for the others. Everyone rushes outside, staring at the blood and the torn fabric. Panic spreads through the group like wildfire. They sprint back to the cabin, slamming the door shut and locking it tight. The cabin falls silent as everyone listens for any sound outside. Then, without warning, the window explodes inward. A decayed, icy arm bursts through, grabbing Liv by the hair and trying to pull her through the window. She screams as the others rush to her aid, beating at the arm, pulling her back with all their strength. With a final desperate tug, they rip her free, slamming the window shut. It's now painfully clear. The legends were true. The Nazis never left these mountains. The group peers through the windows and sees them. Dozens of Nazi zombies swarming around the cabin. And unlike the slow-moving corpses from old horror stories, these ones are fast, strong, intelligent, and filled with violent fury. Panic consumes the group. Every second feels like the last. Then, in an instant, the nightmare breaks through. One of the zombies grabs Erland through the broken window. His friends scream and try to pull him back, but the creature is too strong. Erland is dragged outside into the snow, his screams echoing through the frozen woods. And then, silence. Now only 4 remain. Martin, Liv, Hannah, and Chris. The shock of Erland's death leaves them trembling, but they know they can't just wait to die. As the night drags on, they form a desperate plan. When morning comes, 2 of them will create a distraction to draw the zombies away, while the other 2 will make a run for the cars to find help. It's a slim chance, but it's the only one they have. Meanwhile, far away in the mountains, Vaggard, the friend who went searching for Sarah, claws his way out of the icy tunnels. His face is pale, his breath ragged, but he's alive. As soon as he climbs out, he's ambushed. A Nazi zombie charges him. Vaggard fights back fiercely, stabbing and punching until the creature finally falls. But there's no time to rest. Another zombie appears. Vaggard sprints through the snow, chased to the edge of a steep cliff. With no escape left, he wraps a rope around his waist, ties it to a tree, and jumps, dragging the zombie with him. They dangle in midair, swinging over the deadly drop. But the creature lunges forward and bites deep into Vaggard's neck. With a final, desperate effort, Vaggard hits, sending the zombie plummeting to the rocks below. Bleeding and half-conscious, he slowly climbs back up the cliffside, determined to survive. Back at the cabin, the survivors put their plan into motion. Hannah and Liv sprint toward the cars, while Martin and Chris stay behind to distract the undead. But the plan collapses almost immediately. The zombies are everywhere. Hannah and Liv become separated in the white, endless snow. Liv looks back and sees several zombies closing in on her. There's no escape. Her eyes dart around, and that's when she notices a grenade hanging from one of the zombies' belts. She grabs the creature's vest and yanks the pin. "See you in hell," she whispers. The explosion rips through the silence, engulfing her and the zombies in a fiery blast. Not far away, the blast catches the attention of Colonel Herzog, the undead commander himself. His skeletal face turns toward the smoke, his cold, dead eyes filled with rage. The leader of Hitler's lost battalion is coming for what's his. Elsewhere, Hannah runs through the trees, stumbling through the snow. Behind her, one of the undead soldiers charges after her. She reaches the edge of a cliff with nowhere left to go. The zombie lunges, and in one desperate act, Hannah jumps. She falls into the deep snow below, her body sinking into the icy powder. For a moment, everything is quiet. Then she wakes up, buried, struggling to breathe. Panic fills her lungs as she realizes she's not alone. The zombie that chased her has also fallen and is trapped beside her, thrashing to break free. Hannah claws her way upward, bursting out of the snow just as the creature's hand reaches for her. She grabs a rock and smashes its skull until it stops moving. At the same time, Vaggard finally reaches the vehicle. Against all odds, he's made it. But instead of fleeing, he mounts a massive machine gun onto his snowmobile, loading it with bullets and explosives. His face hardens. He's going back for his friends. Back at the cabin, Chris and the remaining survivor, Martin, are running out of options. The zombies are breaking through the walls, smashing the doors off their hinges. In a last act of defiance, they try to build a homemade bomb using a gas canister and rags. But in the chaos, the plan goes wrong. The bomb slips from their hands, rolling back inside. Flames engulf the building as Martin and Chris barely escape, coughing and choking in the smoke. The cabin, their only shelter, is gone. They stumble into a nearby storage shed, slamming the door shut behind them. As their eyes adjust, they realize what's inside. Sledgehammer, chainsaw, knives and other tools. For them, it's not just a shed, it's an armory. Martin grips a chainsaw, and Chris picks a sledgehammer. Surrounded by fire, blood, and snow, the two prepare for their final stand. The snow-covered silence doesn't last long. From the darkness of the forest, the entire Nazi zombie army begins to march toward the shed. Martin and Chris brace themselves, clutching their weapons tightly as the zombies reach them. Martin and Chris fight back with everything they have, splattering blood and bone across the snow. Dozens of zombies fall. Just when it seems they're about to be overrun, a roar of an engine cuts through the chaos. A snowmobile charges into the scene. It's Vaggard. Mounted on the front is a massive machine gun, and he fires relentlessly into the horde, mowing down rows of Nazi zombies in a storm of bullets. For a moment, hope returns. The three friends fight side by side against the undead tide. But the victory doesn't last. The zombies swarm Vaggard's snowmobile, yanking him from the seat. He screams and fires wildly, but there are too many of them. They tear him apart with their bare hands as Martin and Chris watch helplessly. At that same moment, Hannah, who somehow survived her cliff fall, arrives. She sees Vaggard's brutal death and freezes, horrified. But she was also bitten in her neck. Hannah collapses in the snow, lifeless. Her death hits Martin and Chris like a hammer. They've now lost everyone. Rage replaces fear. Martin reloads again and again and keeps shooting. But during the chaos, one of the zombies breaks through and bites Martin's arm. He stumbles back, staring in horror at the wound. The hiker's warning echoes in his mind. One bite, and it's over. Without hesitation, Martin looks around, spots a chainsaw on the workbench, and grabs it. He presses the blade against his arm, and with a guttural scream, cuts his own arm off before the infection can spread. His face twists in pain, but he refuses to die. The battlefield outside is littered with corpses, an ocean of broken bodies and blackened uniforms. It seems for a brief moment that it's over. But then, Colonel Herzog steps forward through, his rage now fully unleashed. He looks down at his fallen soldiers and mutters something in German. The snow beneath their feet begins to move. Slowly, skeletal hands burst through the surface. Another wave of zombies crawls up from the frozen earth. More than before, stronger than before. The fight isn't over. It's only beginning. Chris tries to run, but one of the undead grabs him, tearing him apart. Martin turns to help, but it's too late. He's the only one left now. Surrounded by hundreds of undead soldiers, he stands alone. Then, Colonel Herzog approaches Chris's body, and from his pocket, he pulls out a small compass. He looks at it, then at Martin. In that moment, Martin finally understands. They're not after them. They're after the gold, the treasure that Erland found. The same gold his friends had unknowingly taken from the dead soldier's hiding place. That's why the zombies returned. They're here to reclaim what was stolen. Martin turns and runs back toward the burning ruins of the cabin. He digs through the ashes, coughing and shaking. Finally, he finds it. The chest of gold coins, half burned but still intact. He drags it into the snow just as Herzog and his army arrive, surrounding him in silence. With trembling hands, Martin holds the chest out to the colonel. Herzog lifts the treasure, and for the first time he nods, accepting the return of what was his. Then, without a word, he turns away, signaling his army to withdraw. Martin can hardly believe it. Against all odds, he's alive. He limps back to the car, bleeding, exhausted and broken. He gets inside, slams the door, and exhales deeply. Finally, it's over. But then, something small and metallic falls from his coat pocket. A single gold coin lands near his feet, the one Hannah had secretly taken earlier. Martin stares at it in disbelief. Outside, a shadow moves. Colonel Herzog suddenly appears in front of the car, his face twisted in fury. The realization hits Martin. The colonel thinks he cheated him. Herzog roars in anger and slams his fist through the glass, shattering it. Martin screams, and the screen cuts to black. And that is the wild and terrifying story of Dead Snow. On IMDb, this movie was rated by 72,000 people and has an average rating of 6.3. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back soon with another chilling story. Until then, take care.